Hello, welcome to the second part of this update on the online adding format and how it handles complex data. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go through the timecode. Now the timecode is still work in progress, it's nearly complete, and I wanted to give everybody a heads up as to where we're going on stuff and how to use what's in there. So if I load and save it, now in this file I have here, it's a very simple test, and excuse my god-awful animation.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill.
Anyway, you get the idea. It's nice and easy. It's a nice one because there are very clear cues that it has to hit. Blue and red. Okay. So if we load and we have a look what's in here, we've got a ton of segregated audio, which is kind of relative to how most games work. Most games have little bits of chunked up audio, so you take a cutscene, you split up by your audio department into multiple pieces. Each one of these is a BWav. Now the BWav format itself, I've already talked about BWavs many times in the past, but the BWav is a format that includes timecode. So lo and behold, all of these files have timecode. That, by the way, this inspect is just our inspect code that generates a report about everything about the audio, including all the BWav header data, and there's a timecode in it. So we know we've got timecode on the audio. Let's have a look at the character. The character itself, again, has timecode. These three attrs that we stamp onto all our MRigs that we produce for clients represent timecode, and they represent it in a way that is easily debuggable. So what we do is if we open this thing up and we go timecode HUD, there's our timecode. And what it's doing on the fly, what that little UI is doing on the fly, is it's taking these three attributes. This is in milliseconds, so that's effectively our static milliseconds, and this is a counter that says I'm 270 frames through this piece of sequence. And that's how we compile the timecode. So this character has timecode, the audio has timecode. Therefore, we have enough to know how to resync and rebuild this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this file up into multiple online adding files, delete everything, and reconstruct it on the fly against multiple characters, just to show how you can pull data back together from a mocap shoot, etc. So let's kill the timecode HUD. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chunk it up. And when I say chunk it up, all I'm going to do is I'm going back into the exporter that we roughly talked about earlier on, and I'm going to cut it into multiple parts. I'm going to cut it into a red part, a blue part, and a bit at the front. So the first part, he says no holding back. So if we add a range, and what I'm going to do is we're going to go from -10 up to about there. Set the path. No going back, I think he says. That'll do. No going back. Add. There's the first one. The next one was you take the blue pill. Blue pill. First one. So we go blue pill. Blue pill. And that must be from around there. So about there. Again, I'm not exactly setting these accurately, but it's just to show you where we're going on this. So blue pill, we go 287, and the red pill will be the rest. Okay, so I mean we could have an idle hold at the end. You know, this is the kind of thing that you do when you were doing game animation. You were chunking this thing up into multiple parts. So 287-ish. A lot. Grab. That's red pill. Okay, red pill. So what we've got is we've got three anim loops sat there waiting to be exported. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to link the audio to this character. And this is something else that we do in the export systems. If you can imagine a cutscene with 5 characters, the audio systems need to know which character is saying what line of dialogue. And that's really important. And it's also important in the online adding format when you start hitting some of these more complicated features, in that it needs to know, out of this audio that we have here, who is saying this. Well, in this case it's easy because we've only got one guy, but if we had a conversation going, it might be that, and that is character 1, this, and this might be character 2. So we link them in. And we do that by going, click on that. It brings up, Morphus is our character tag, the export tag. This is all the audio in the scene, and all I'm going to do is connect that up. Done. Now, if I graph, we did this on the other example, if I graph this thing, and we also graph the audio node, which is that one there, the export structures are such that these are the these are the export tags that we showed earlier on. So these are our 3-part export tags. So that will be probably the water. Let's have a look. Let's just get rid of some of these UIs. Excuse me for cluttering it all up. It's hard work doing it on one screen. So that's our blue pill, that's our red pill, and that's our no going back with the ranges stored. And that's the audio node. So what we do with the audio is we group them onto an audio group node, and the group basically is a holder for all these audios are related to this one character, and that's what we've done in here. So we've got everything sorted out. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all those 3 and just go output. Obviously, you don't have to use the exporter. We can just go through the UI, but it just makes it a bit easier and quicker just to do this demo. That's all. So now we have, in fact, let's just go back into the exporter and we'll just open the UI up, open export path. Sorry, it's on the other one. There we go. So now we have the 3 unknown items that we just output, red, blue, and no going back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything in the scene. I'm going to start again. So we'll load fresh rig, get rid of the exporter. I'm going to load in one of the pieces of audio first. The reason for this will come very obvious when I start going through this stuff. So, sorry I did this on the screen because you can't see it. There's some other stuff I don't need to see. Okay, so I'm going to import blue pill. Sorry. Blue pill number 1. Okay, so this is the first piece of dialogue. So again, let's go back to the tracks editor and open that. So there's our first piece of audio. Okay. God, why has it gone so big? There we go. Get rid of some of this screen space. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to. What's that one?
After this.
After this is no turning back. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to slip that to a new starting point, just so that it's, so it's obvious that I'm not loading this against where the things were stored. So I'm going to drag that to frame 93. That sounds about good enough. And I'm going to open our online anim UI. We're going to point it to no going back, which was in, sorry, I'm going to have to do that over there, which was in Dropbox, clients, demo, where is it? There we go, demo, timecode. Okay, go back in there now. No going back. And what it's saying is that by default it's set to load stored. Well, I don't want that. I want to load it relative to something. I'm going to load it relative to the timecode. And the only thing we've got that has timecode at the moment is this audio. So again, if I inspect this audio, we know the timecode format is 1 hour 14 minutes and 00000. So we effectively need to say that this frame here, frame 93, is this timecode. And we do that by literally just selecting the audio and going set TC reference point. And what you'll see is the TC reference point is effectively a point that says frame 93 is now bound to 1 hour 14 minutes. And what you'll see in the feedback down here is it's now said, well, actually, I'm going to need to load this animation from frame 83, because if you remember when we saved it, it started at -10, where it says there, it starts at -10. And what it's done is it's taken this timecode that's stored in the online anim file, it's looked at the timecode I've just given it, it's figured out the difference between the two and calculated that in order to hit the same timecode as this, I need to load the online anim from frame 83. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Load. So that's the first bit. And now we did it through the exporter, so it's saying about do I want to rebuild the export loop? Yeah, why not? What it'll also say is it's found matching audio data in the file. Now, the idea behind this is that obviously when we're importing online anims, if we've got, let's say, a piece of facial data, the audio is absolutely bound to that piece of facial. So the fact that we store it with the animation format and we offer the ability to then load it back in and sync it as it came is actually really key. I'm not going to bother because obviously blue pill is already in there because we aligned it against it. So that's the first chunk coming. So
after this, there's no turning.
After this, there's no turning back. Okay, not exactly a piece of rocket science, but what we'll now do is let's load in. You load the blue pill and then you take the red pill. That's right, isn't it? Sorry, I always get those wrong. Take the blue pill. Okay, so blue pill. Now we've already said that this time code, which has come from the audio, frame 93 is 1 hour 14 minutes. But let's say we're now going to do it against the time code that came off this animation. Okay, so let's just move the time ranges around. And we'll say, okay, that frame there, it's kind of arbitrary because it doesn't matter because we have a timecode count on this character now. But I'm going to say set the reference point. That's now said, looking at the timecode on this character, frame 143 is actually 1 hour 14, 1 minutes and 20 seconds, 20 frames. Sorry, 1 hour 14 minutes, 1 second and 20 frames. So I've taken a timecode from him, and I'm now going to load this R9 on him against his timecode, not this audio. Okay. And if I load that, well, you'll see down here, it's saying I need to load this from frame 173. So I'm going to load that again. So this is the blue pill. This is the second piece. And again, it said you want to rebuild the export loop. Yeah, why not? But more importantly, it said I found matching audio that matches this data. What do you want to do? Well, I want to import it because obviously I want to reconstruct that audio. And as the audio comes in, you'll see the audio has come in and it drops into the correct place. So now we've rebuilt the file, or two parts of the file.
You take the blue pill,
bang on top.
The story ends.
You go, I can't remember what else he says. So let's load the red pill up now. Okay, and again, we've got timecode binding. The timecode is currently set to this node here. Once you've got a binding, that's fine, because we know that obviously counting frames forwards, we know where we're going. So let's load that in. And in this case, I'm not going to load the audio up because I want to show you another trick that we've got in there. We'll load the blue pill, but we're not going to load those 2 bits of audio. In fact, no, we're not. So this is 5 and 6 on the audio. We're not going to load those up. So we've now got the red pill, but we've got no red pill audio. So again, this might be a case of somebody has come in and maybe the audio didn't come in from your audio department. Maybe there's issues with it. Maybe they've redelivered it. So I've just dragged those new bits of audio into the sync. But obviously they're at 000s and we don't know how to sync them up. Well, we do, because what we can do is we can go to the offset manager, because we're in Pro, and you'll notice the same thing, timecode reference from node, timecode reference from node. Well, okay, I've labeled them slightly different, but effectively it's the same thing. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to give it that piece of audio. I'm going to set the timecode reference. So inside this, which is the audio manager, it's setting frame 241.2 at this. I'm going to select those 2 beats. I'm going to say sync them, and they will sync relative to what I've given them. Okay, well, that looks quite a big gap. Maybe it's not. Let's have a look.
You take the red
There we go.
You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
So let's just summarize what we've just done there. We've taken a piece of animation that's got audio, we've generated some export loops, we've generated the audio links to make sure that data is then filled inside the R9 anim format. In fact, we'll open this up just to show you what's going on. So inside this format, what you'll see is there's the audio group. So the fact that we bound it to this audio group in the export UI means that it comes through into the information block in the R9 anim. And it shows all the audio that was linked. In fact, each R9 anim holds a history of everything in that scene that relates to these nodes. So we hold all of the audios that were found, and we hold all of the export ranges that were found. And when we load them, what it does is it looks at these start and ends and it figures out whether that audio falls within the range of the animation we're about to load. And then it offers you the chance to do you want to load it, etc. But from that one audio, so from outputting those multiple parts, we put one piece of audio in there. We've used the timecode of that audio to load the first piece of animation. We've then loaded the second piece of animation against the timecode coming off the rig itself. We've loaded the third piece of animation without the audio, and we've dropped the audio in, and we've resynced the audio. So in one file swoop, we've synced everything from everything else. Let's just turn the timecode HUDs on this and just show you. Let's just drop that back so that we are fully in sync. So if we now load standard, load another rig up, and I just load in, well, yeah, red pill, that's fine. We can't load it as store, let's load it against that one there, dosh. So this might be the body animation, let's say this is the facial animation. Obviously I want to make sure this last piece is in sync. We're going to go load. I've loaded it against the wrong character, haven't I? Oh! Let's just let it do that. Yeah, no, whatever. Okay, we'll load it on that one. Load. Sorry about that, wasn't happy. Yeah, it comes. No, go away. Okay. So they are bang on in sync. And in fact, if we select both of these things, which turn it helps off, we select both of these things and we pull the HUD on. You see we've got 2 timecode counts. One's obviously static until the animation starts, and bosh, there they go. Nice and in sync. So We can sync everything. We can sync things from multiple nodes. We can sync audio against audio. We can sync audio against characters. We can sync characters against timecode. We can sync characters against other timecode. It's effectively a way of making sure that data coming in from mocap shoots actually is representative of what it was when it was shot on the day. Rather than guessing and syncing and eyeballing stuff, that's all out the window. This is all done accurately by timecode. Just wanted to give you a flavour of it. There's more coming. Thanks very much. Bye.